Yes, now here we go. Now, waiting in the wings, I am joined by a friend of the show. Now, we've had her multiple times on the program. New York songstress, Rachael Sage. Needs no introduction because it's always a joy to have you on here on the podcast. How are you today? How are we doing?
Thank you so much for having me. I am, settled in London in my office for the day, which is my hotel room, on a blissful day off on the tour. So very happy we could connect.
Good times. And London View, I remember you saying in the last interview, it's a home from home.
Absolutely. I love to walk around all the different neighborhoods here. And, in a lot of ways, it does remind me of New York City. So I feel right at home.
Nice. And I'm here to invite you on my show to talk about your new cover single, Canopy, you've been working on. Can you just describe this record, the meaning behind it
Yes,
and the mystery
absolutely.
and what the listener can expect from it?
Ah, well, it isn't much of a mystery. This is probably one of my most forthright songs lyrically. It really is basically, me at my wit's end trying to offer something positive in this very divisive political landscape that we have, especially in America, but the world over, really, where we just seem to have forgotten how to empathize with one another to the fullest extent of our capability. So it's basically like me trying to wipe the slate clean and say, hey, what we've been doing hasn't been working for many, many, many years, hundreds of years, thousands of years, and it's time to just remind each other that we are all human. Each one of us could be the other person, um, if not for different circumstances. So that's really what the song is all about. It's about inclusivity, acceptance, and opening up our virtual canopies.
That's what it's all about. Everyone joining the love train.
It's a neo-hippie anthem for sure.
Great. And last time I saw you, you were supporting Will Young on tour in
Yes.
Shrewsbury last autumn. Wow, time flies. So you've been more working on this single and forthcoming album as well.
That's right. Yeah. So over the last year, I've been in the studio a lot, but I've also been touring quite a bit. So every time I would come home, I would just put my producer hat on and get back to it. I have a wonderful home recording situation now, and then occasionally I go into a studio. But I would say the main thing that really differentiates this forthcoming full album, which is coming in the fall, and this sequence of singles that'll be coming out throughout the summer is that I'm really trying to put more of a spotlight on this beautiful band that I've been playing with for a bunch of years now. We do call ourselves Rachael Sage and the Sequins when we're all together, as in sparkly sequins. And I'm very, very fortunate to have a couple of those players with me on tour in the UK right now, including Kelly Halloran on fiddle and the great Will Wild on harmonica and vocals.
That's awesome. And throwing back to Canopy, did you record a Canopy like in your own like country, like New York?
Most of it, yeah. I
Mm.
I did the basic tracking for the majority of these songs on the album at a wonderful studio in Connecticut called the Carriage House, where I've worked since I was a teenager. And they're kind of a second family to me, so I feel very relaxed there. But they have beautiful gear, a lot of analog stuff. My favorite piano in the world, a beautiful like 1920s Steinway. And I bring all my guitars and my Wurlitzer, and we just kind of camp out and make it happen. And then a lot of the vocals I did at home in my closet on a fancy mic in my closet. So kind of a juxtaposition of down to earth and, aspirational there.
That's good. And can we expect a music video to accompany this release?
Actually, the music video for Canopy is out already, so folks can watch that on my YouTube channel. It's also linked from my website in multiple places and probably in my bio on Instagram and Facebook and things like that. So.
And you mentioned on Canopy, during these unpredictable times, would you say this is more of a personal records, about having peace with yourself and facing everyday challenges?
Not really, actually. I
Ah,
think this one is more about peace in the world, peace with each other,
right.
trying to find different ways, perhaps as individuals, because we can't do and solve everything, but to make more space to be inclusive, whether it's, in your social life, in your workplace, in your relationships, you know, within your political realm, whatever the case may be. And certainly as someone who is part of the LGBTQ plus community, as a Jewish person, I'm always striving to do that every day in my life. I work with a very diverse team at Empress Records, and I'm just always saying, my hand is up, please. How can I help to be part of events and specifically musical projects that can bring people in, bring people together instead of the opposite, which is not what we need.
Yeah.
So
That's a very heartwarming message.
I'm doing my best.
Yes, yeah, doing well, very well. So Canopy is
Thank
out
you.
now, and you said it's a lead on to a number of singles, which lead to a full-length studio album about to drop later this year as well.
Yes, and the next single that's going to come out will be out sometime late June. So, if folks stay tuned to my socials or just drop a line, message me. I'm friendly. I'll keep you in the know. So,
Great. And as a songwriter, I know you mentioned that you like poetry and literature.
oh
Is
yeah.
that some is that one part of the arts that you've always been an avid fan of?
Poetry. Oh, yeah. I mean, one of my biggest inspirations as a teenager was studying Shakespeare. And I was very fortunate. I had a wonderful acting teacher in high school who continually cast me in Shakespeare plays. And um, I've played a whole variety of very memorable female characters from a wide range of Shakespeare productions. So, I carried that passion with me to college and continue to study acting. And every once in a while, I'll dip into reading some plays again. But for the most part, nowadays, I'm more focused on music. But I love reading. I love watching movies. Basically, anything that tells a story and kind of has some sort of catharsis to it is
Hmm.
something I'm going to be interested in.
And have you ever played in the town of Stratford-upon-Avon? Because I know you have played in many English towns and cities
I've
across the
played near
country.
there, but I know I haven't played there yet because I have a dear friend there, a wonderful photographer who took some of the photos for my spoken word poetry album, Poetica, actually. He did it remotely in lockdown. He went around his town, Stratford-on-Avon, and he took all these interesting photos of cemeteries and wilted flowers and all kinds of sort of gothic romantic images. And I use some of them in my packaging, but I haven't been able to serenade him yet in his hometown. So not yet, but it's a great idea. And if anybody has any venue suggestions there for me for a singer-songwriter in Stratford, please drop a line.
Yeah, we'll look into that. And you also released a single called Birthday as well. That's doing well, exceedingly well for itself on, the charts and the streaming platforms. When was that released and recorded? Birthday.
Thanks for noticing. That was a long time ago, but because it was in a couple of episodes of the very interesting reality TV show Dance Moms. It has continued to chart on Spotify and some other places, but gosh, I don't even know. I mean, it was at least 6, 7 years ago
Yeah.
now. And the wonderful, wildly talented Maddie Ziegler, who's also an actor now, and she's a style icon. She performed beautifully to that song on that TV show, so folks can check that out on YouTube as well.
You can't go really wrong with songs about birthdays because everybody wants to hear a song about birthdays. So I always get a lot of
That's true.
requests to play birthday songs.
There are a
Um,
lot of folks on TikTok who continue to use that song under their videos. It's
nice.
the gift that
Oh,
keeps on giving.
also, I wanted to briefly mention Among All of God's Creatures as well.
Oh, sure.
Yeah, because that was
Yes, a
on there.
similar story. That particular song I had written many years ago, and I believe it was on my second or third album. And it just kind of did its thing. I would perform it live. Didn't really have any big breaks. And then it also appeared on that TV show, Dance Mom. So thanks to Abby Lee Miller and Gianna from that show for really recognizing, I guess, the theatrical potential in a song that was at its essence about, you know, again, it's a theme in a lot of my music, but trying to cultivate empathy and when you're faced with a situation, where, you're vulnerable and you have the choice to kind of stand up for yourself or to cower, trying to take that more courageous path. It's easier
Mm.
said than done, but the song itself was inspired by a friend of mine who actually was robbed at gunpoint, tied up, had all of their belongings stolen, their laptops with all their music on it, everything, but they were safe and they emerged from it okay. And their attitude about life and everything that was important after that was so much more sharpened by that experience. And instead of becoming bitter and angry, they just became more loving and open. And so that's the kind of person I strive to be.
That's good. And also, my next question, I was going to ask, so I mentioned some of your old songs from your back catalogue. I know on
Sure.
tour you like to perform like the new material, but sometimes you
Yeah,
like to throw in the old throwback here and there.
absolutely. Yeah. I mean, I have 17 full albums now and a whole bunch of singles and EPs. And what I tend to do, because I don't really like to adhere to a set list, I write down all the songs that I enjoy playing currently, that are kind of in my current repertoire. And I don't necessarily follow that order, but off the top of my head, kind of like roulette, I'll look at the paper and based on what the audience energy is and the energy between myself and my fellow musicians, I'll just pick things on the fly. And then before I know it, an hour and a half has gone by or whatnot, and that's how I do my sets. It's really a
Amazing.
lot of instinct. Yeah.
Yeah. And what do you think of today's industry for artists to establish themselves? And more particularly, grassroots venues struggling and closing down. Because venues mean, I know personally,
Yeah,
a lot to you as well.
of course. Well, it's true. I am a record label founder and owner of Empress Records. I release other artists as well, so I'm continually in that mix of music industry versus music community, if you will, of fellow artists and peers, whether it be in the folk or Americana pop worlds. Um, it's a difficult balance to strike between being overly focused on the status of the business and being checked out, Um, and yet I'm also an artist, so I am always moving forward. I'm trying to look to my next project. I'm trying to be creative. And I struggle with that balance, to be quite frank. It's not something that I've mastered. There are nights when I can't get to sleep because I'm worried, not enough people will show up to my big album release show in New York City or whatever the case may be. So I get on the, email or text and start reminding everybody. And that can really detract and distract from creativity and from that authentic connection to what you're doing. So, I have a lot of tools to try to help me balance that. The first is I don't do it alone. I have a team and I have a wonderful tour manager, brilliant publicist, label manager. So we're a small but mighty group of women who we have each other's backs and we have a shared collective mission to put out positive, beautiful music into the world and just do our best, all the time. That said, um, for other artists, I feel like younger artists have such a great handle on, the pace and the vibe of social media and how they can use that to forge these connections with listeners. It's not the era I grew up in, so I continue to be more enamored with the live
Mm.
touring situation. And all I'll say is please, 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 if you're going to go see a show, buy your tickets in advance because what that does is not only it kind of commits you to doing it, so you won't just sort of decide last minute to watch Netflix or whatever, which is tempting. But it really supports the artist, the venue. It enables them to pay their staff in a timely manner. It's really the best way that anyone can support an artist is to purchase those tickets in advance and show that solidarity with them.
Some useful tips and advice there. And finally, where's best for people to follow you on, social media, websites, and so on?
Sure. My favorite platform is Instagram. I post there at least once a day. And I love to share my visual artwork as well there and photos from the road. So you can follow me there, Rachel_Sage. And then, of course, I'm on Facebook and Blue Sky and my website, rachelsage.com.
Great. We'll put the website links below this video for those on the YouTube platforms and so on.
Great.
And for the radio station, we'll play your new single now, Canopy. Would you like to introduce it on?
Yes, this is my brand new single and the title track from my forthcoming album, Canopy.
Great to have you back on the show. Special guest Rachel Sage
Thank you.
today.
Thank you so much.